Hello world, I am Zenith and you are watching Winterpreneurship Media. And the topic of this particular video is the concept of what I call as AWL, Auction Winners Loss. Whenever a person or a group of persons goes to an auction, they try to outbid the competition. And in the process of outbidding the competition, sometimes it may so happen that they end up paying more for the product or for the artistic item that they wanted to purchase than is the actual value of that particular item. The value of art is subjective and it is roughly equivalent to whatever the bidder or the highest bidder is willing to pay for that art. But there have been cases that the highest bidder, in order to just boost their ego or satiate and satisfy their ego, have outbid the competition, and because of that were actually in a loss-making situation rather than a situation in which they were able to be profitable from the piece that they obtained from the auction. This concept of auction winner's loss, wherein which the auction winner who supposedly has won the auction ends up paying more than he rationally would have paid for that particular item, is also applicable in sociology in other disciplines. Like for example, in the sales process, sometimes salespersons end up promising much more than their company can actually deliver. And in order to gain the trust of the customer, they end up making fake or false promises. So even if they have won the customer, the company is not going to be able to satisfy the customer in the future. And because of that, it is actually a loss-making situation and not a profitable situation. So every time there is victory or there is achievement does not mean that the right price for the achievement has been paid. Sometimes the child of a father and mother can misbehave or may be addicted to drugs or may go and commit some crime. In this particular case, the father and mother who have that child have supposedly won the biological auction and were able to procreate and were able to pass on their genes to the next generation. But they might not have thought that they have to also handle the miscellaneous activities and the repercussions of the unforeseen situations that the child might put themselves in. For example, the child may become a drug addict, the child may become a crime boss, the child may become a thug, a cheater. Fortune forbid this should not happen with any family, but if this happens, then in that case, the parents have ended up paying much more than they thought initially they would pay. This is another concept of auction winner's loss. So supposedly, the people who are auction winners are actually losing. This may happen also in a marital relationship. Let's say one spouse is expecting the other partner to do leaps and heaps of favors for them. So let us assume that a man and a woman come together and are in a relationship now. It may so happen that the woman expects the man to do a lot for her, or it may so happen that the man expects lot many sacrifices from the woman. So this is where the deal goes out of bound. The unforeseen or unforeseen circumstances have now led to the marriage contract or the relationship contract becoming or growing out of bounds, and there comes the situation wherein resentment starts. The woman may think that this is not what she signed up for. The man may think that this is not what he signed up for. Either spouse may think that they are having to sacrifice much more than they initially thought would be the case. This is another example of auction winner's loss. And this is one of the primary reasons because of which relationships that fail do fail. Because of the concept of overshoot of demand and supply, because of the concept of overpaying compared to the perceived and actual benefits of any particular phenomena or situation. This may also happen when, especially in the service industry, a customer wants to avail services from a particular service provider, be it an individual or be it a company. Let us say the individual or the company has agreed to provide certain X amount of services to the customer. Now, if the customer keeps on wanting more and more services, but the amount of payment that the customer has given to the company is fixed, then in that particular case, the company may appear to be a winner. However, it happens to be a loser, because even though supposedly the company has won the auction and gotten the customer interested in their products and services, now that the customer is demanding more and more, the concept of auction winner's loss comes into play. And since the customer is demanding more and more and more and more, the company is actually in a loss-making situation, because they are not able to profitably serve the customer in this particular scenario. Auction winner's loss is also very prevalent in the stock markets. In the stock markets, there are call options, put options, and sometimes the buyer of a particular security or a stock may think that they have won because they have outbid the competition. Actually, the purchase of any particular stock is via the process of bidding, because if somebody is selling and somebody is buying, if somebody is trying to sell at a much higher price and if there are no buyers, then in that case that stock exchange or the sale will not happen. So the process of sales in a stock market is like micro bids and micro auctions. So sometimes in a bubble market, it may so seem that the buyer who has purchased that particular stock is actually winning the auction because he obtained that stock for a certain particular price. The recent example of cryptocurrency was very similar. People who are buying the cryptocurrencies at an all-time high price might feel that they have won the auction momentarily. But actually speaking, later they realize that they have overpaid for that particular cryptocurrency or that particular economic asset in the case of a stock market. And later they suffer what is called as buyer's remorse or buyer's regret. And hence the phenomena of auction winner's loss. So apparently the people who are winning may not be winning in the long run. They might be winning in the short run. And even though they have outbid the competition in that particular scenario, in that particular space-time local scenario, in the long run, when things come back to equilibria and all the prices gravitate back to the actual value, they may end up realizing that they actually paid much more than was warranted for that particular good product or service. And this is the phenomena of auction winner's loss that is so very prevalent in our sociology and in the biological nature of our reality while we interact with markets, while we interact with each other as humans. And this is something to be wary of in the decision-making process.